Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something huge. Arguably the single biggest transformation in all of human history. We're talking about the moment we went from just wandering the Earth to actually trying to control it. Okay, so get this. For almost our entire existence as a species, we're talking over 99% of it, we were constantly on the move. And then, boom, in what's really just a blink of an eye in historical terms, everything flipped. We stopped moving, we settled down, and that one decision changed, well, it changed everything.
So you gotta ask, right? What could possibly cause a change that massive? A shift that fundamental. And the answer? It's not some epic war or a powerful king or a huge conquest. Nope. The revolution that changed the world was fought with seeds. All right, let's get into it. To really get how huge this change was, we have to go back. We need to understand what life was like before it all happened, in the world of the hunter-gatherer. So for tens of thousands of years, literally every single person on Earth was a hunter-gatherer. That meant being a nomad. Your whole life, your survival, it all depended on moving. You were following the herds, following the seasons, always looking for that next meal. I want you to just try and picture this for a second. Your entire world is just a small group of, say, 50 people. Every single day is a search. And your survival, it completely depends on whether that next hunt is successful or if you find enough plants to eat. That kind of uncertainty day in and day out, it made life super precarious. And it's why the human population just didn't really grow for a long time. But then, around 10,000 years ago, something just happened. Something incredible. A discovery was made, or more likely just stumbled upon, that was going to completely change the course of human history. It probably started as a complete accident. Just think about it. Maybe someone drops a few wild grains near a campsite they use a lot. They leave, a season passes, they come back, and hey, look at that. There are new plants growing right where they left the seeds. That one little observation, that was the spark. That was the beginning of the Neolithic Revolution, the agricultural revolution. That was the moment we went from just finding food to actually making it. Now, this whole revolution didn't just happen out of nowhere. The timing was perfect. See, the last ice age was ending, which meant the climate was getting warmer, you had longer growing seasons, and because of that, the population started to grow a little bit, which created this pressure to find more food for everyone. So farming wasn't just some clever idea someone had, it was the perfect solution born right at the intersection of we need this and hey, now we can do this. Okay, so this new lifestyle, it wasn't just about new ideas. It required a whole new toolkit and a brand new way of looking at the world around us. So people started coming up with all these new methods. Take slash and burn farming, for example. You literally clear a field with fire, and the ash makes the soil fertile. Genius, right? And at the same time, people were using their incredible knowledge of animals to start taming them, domestication. So for the first time ever, we weren't just taking from nature anymore. We were starting to actively manage it, to control it. And how do we know all this? Well, we found the evidence they left behind at a place called Jarmo, which is in modern-day Iraq. Archaeologists like this guy, Robert Braidwood, they literally dug up the tools of the revolution. And we're not just talking about random rocks here. These were specialized tools for a whole new way of life. Things for digging, for harvesting, for grinding up grain. So, the impact of the shift from hunting to farming, the ripple effects were insane. They were immediate, they were massive, and they completely remade the world. This is what set the stage for, well, everything that came next. And it all goes back to that warming trend we talked about. That was the foundation. You get this stable, predictable climate, and suddenly farming isn't just a fluke. It can flourish, not just in one spot, but all over the world. It created the perfect conditions for a population explosion. And here you can see it. With that stable climate and, crucially, a steady food supply, just look what happens to the population. For tens of thousands of years, that line is basically flat. Then, the agricultural revolution hits and it starts to tick up, and then, whoosh, it just explodes. It's a simple equation, really. More food equals more people. And this growth wasn't just some abstract number on a chart. It led to the very first large settlements, the first towns. Take a place like Çatalhöyük in modern-day Turkey. At its peak, you had up to 6,000 people living there. 6,000? To put that in perspective, that's like 100 times bigger than one of those hunter-gatherer bands. It was a concentration of people like nothing the world had ever seen before. But, this new settled life, it was definitely a mixed bag. On the one hand, you had all these amazing benefits. You had food surpluses, which meant not everyone had to farm. You could have skilled workers, potters, weavers. And these villages became hubs for trade. But then there was the bad side. A single drought or a flood could be catastrophic. You had thousands of people living close together, so diseases spread like crazy. And of course, a village with a big stash of grain, that's a very tempting target for raiders. And that right there is the central paradox of this whole revolution. It solved the age-old problem of where is our next meal coming from, but in doing so, it created this whole new list of problems that humanity had never ever had to deal with before.
And that's really what that archaeologist, Robert Braidwood, was getting at with this quote. He was saying, hey, if we look at how these first villagers dealt with all the unexpected downsides of their big new idea, maybe, just maybe, we can learn something about how to handle the massive changes happening in our own world today.
So in the end, the agricultural revolution gave us, well, everything. It gave us civilization, cities, the modern world, but it also brought a ton of new problems with it. Disease, social classes, new kinds of conflict. It feels like it solved one big problem, but created a dozen new ones. And that forces us to ask a pretty big question, doesn't it? Is all progress just a trade-off? When we take a huge step forward as a species, do we always have to leave something behind?